Wake up, Zambia.
Good morning. Good morning.
A brand new morning experience is coming your way. Introducing the Power Breakfast, where the queens of breakfast serve up the hottest conversations, freshest hits, and everything you need to start your day right. Catch the Queens of Breakfast every weekday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Power FM and Dstv. And no, this isn't an April Fool's joke. It all begins April 1st. Power up your mornings with the Power Breakfast.
Power Breakfast.
It's just 7:10 a.m. in the morning. Reclaim your day by drinking some Fit by Vatra, but also reclaim your day and week by walking away as a winner. And that is this morning. All you have to do is simply call us up on 0955 997 997 or on 0979 192 485. We do have a movie for you, and you just have to tell us what the name of the movie is.
Drink different Power Breakfast. Brought to you by Vatra Mineral Water. Vatra, made for all, made for life.
What is the name of the movie that particular soundbite comes from? If you're somebody that really paid attention to it, or if you know the actors within this, then you'd recognize the voice instantly.
Get in there, Chanda.
No. So do tell us. That's on 0955 997 997 or on 0979 192 485. What is the name of the movie? And if you also want some extra brownie points, I guess, just to show that I know my stuff, tell us who even acted in it. If you want to go extra, tell us what year it was released in. Tell us who the director is. The whole 9 yards, just as you did last week at Sinners. And so that's once again on 0955 997 997.
Yes, you can come through and let us know. That is on 0979 192 485. Hello, good morning. Yes, you to the Power Breakfast. All right. Hello, good morning.
We seem to have lost them, unfortunately. Please do call us back again. That's on 0955 997 997. And also do tell us what is the name of the movie that this particular soundbite comes from.
Drink different Power Breakfast. Brought to you by Vatra Mineral Water. Vatra, made for all, made for life.
I'll say that there are definitely quite good clues within that particular soundbite.
It is. And the movie in question is a very interesting movie.
As all of them are.
Yeah, that's the only clue I can give you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Doing fine, thank you.
That is fantastic. Who are we talking to?
I'm talking to Walia.
Walia who?
Walia Mpula.
Okay, what are the first four numbers of your NRC?
The first four, 48, 47, 70.
Okay, got it. What is the name of the movie, Walia?
The one that was playing in the background?
Yes.
That's The Predator.
Okay, noted. Thank you so much.
Well, which one though?
Oh yeah, which one?
The first one by Arnold Schwarzenegger, the first Predator actually.
Okay, are you sure?
Yes, I am very sure actually.
Okay, all right, Walia. Thank you very much for coming through.
All right, okay, thank you.
So we've got one saying that the movie is The Predator. Do you agree with him, or are you thinking, nah, I don't think so. I know this movie and it's not that. That's on 0955 997 997.
Let's do the job.
Now or on 0979 192 485.
So interesting.
I need to be in a scenario where I can shout that and there's literally a chopper, right? I feel like that would be a very beautiful full circle moment.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing better than that.
Fortrace, get into the chopper.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
We're good. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's the morning.
Yes, who are we speaking to this morning?
Samuel Wamunima.
Samuel Wamunima. All right. What is your NRC? First 4 numbers of your NRC?
3046.
Okay. Tell us, what is the name of the movie?
Okay, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator, produced in 1987.
Yes.
Featuring Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go further?
Go deeper, Papa. Go deeper. Tell us.
Produced by 20th Century Fox. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, wow. You're also going to tell us the location, I presume.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's my submission.
Thank you very much, Samuel, for coming through.
Okay, cheers, thanks.
You see, he told us. He told us, even the producer.
Yeah, you're even the production company that it was produced at Century Fox.
Wow.
Do tell us that's on 0955-997-997 or on 0979-192-485. If you give us the right answer, you get to walk away with a hamper courtesy of Fit by Vatra, and that is under the Trade Kings Group. And truly, there is nothing better than having some energy when you are slumped, when you are pushing, you're dragging yourself through the day. And why not have some via Fit?
Exactly. So if you know what movie it is, do come through. That is on 0979-192-485. So far, as a collective, the 2 callers have agreed that it is Predator. Maybe
Or
you
rather
might beg to-
Predator.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to it. I did tell you it's Predator.
You know, and it didn't make sense to me, but now that you've said it, I can't let it go. Predator.
And you're always going to find yourself saying that.
Yes.
But anyway, is it
Predator.
or Predator or Predator, or is it another movie? You would beg to differ. Would be like, nah, I think it's something else. I think that movie is ABCD. You can come through. Give us a call right now. The phone lines are open. And it is on 0979-192-485 or 0955-997-997. What movie is it?
So here is it one more time.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
Drink different power breakfast. Brought to you by Vatra Mineral Water. Vatra, made for all, made for life.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, and you?
We are fantastic. Who are we talking to?
You're talking to Isaac.
Isaac, what's your last name?
Male.
Okay, and what are the first 4 numbers of your NRC, Isaac?
35-8.
Okay, got it. What is the name of the movie?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Predator.
Predator, yes.
Yeah, it
Thank
is.
you so much. Do stay tuned.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I love that he said Predator.
He said it. It's Predator. I told you. I have told you right now.
Is it Predator or is it Predator?
It's Predator.
In Zambia, it's Predator.
In Zambia, it's Predator. Ask anyone, say, have you watched Predator? I'll be like, yes, I've watched it.
Have
But
you
have you watched Predator? I'll be like, what's that? It's a movie?
But then the question
What was it
is,
released?
the
Nobody
question is
knows.
though, is it Predator or rather Predator, or is it a completely different movie? Do call us up. That's on 0955-997-997 or on 0979-192-485. If you give us the right answer, you get to walk away with a Big Tree Beverages Limited product, and that is under Vatra. And that is the launch of Fit. So it's a cutting-edge sports drink that is designed to elevate your fitness experience. But also, if you're an enthusiast, you like to work out, you've got goals to make sure that by the time cold season is over, when we're hitting September, October, we're going to have a summer body, and you want to start now, why not do so with some Fit by Vatra?
Definitely. So if you are into working out, like Shekinah alluded to earlier on, you can try to jump onto some sports drink that is Fit by Vatra.
Yes, you to become a predator in this the gym with some fit by you.
Hold on.
Too far.
You have crossed to the other side. Come back.
I'm too far into the jungle.
Come back to us. Come back.
We've got 30 seconds left on the line before we go to close the phone lines for this particular segment, but that doesn't mean you get to lose out on winning. We still do have more chances of you to win throughout the show. All you have to do is just stay tuned and interact with us. But for now, we want to find out what the answer is to our question, and that is simply, what is the name of the movie that this particular soundbite comes from?
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
Drink different power breakfast. Brought to you by Vatra Mineral Water. Vatra, made for all, made for life.
And do we have a winner? Yes, no, maybe, possibly?
Well, we do have a winner. And the winner for today who said that, okay, all of you are winners. You're winners in the Lord.
Yeah.
But anywho, so the movie sound that we played you is a movie that was produced in 1987. Guess how old it is? So if you were born in this year, you are 38 now. You should be a grandfather by now.
I don't think so.
You should be a grandfather. 1987. You should be a granddad.
No.
Just throwing shots at them. I mean, nah, you're still young.
That is
You're not 40 yet.
But you're close to it.
Yeah, but then
you're 40 light.
You are almost there, but yeah. So the movie was released in 1987, and it does star the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the movie is Predator. That is the correct way. Predator. We don't know which one that is now,
but we do know Predator.
We do know Predator. Ask anybody on the streets. But we have to be fair. Of course, the person who got it first is the person who has gotten it right, and that is Walia Mapola. Thank you very much for coming through. You are the winner for today. So make sure that you send your name, your full NRC number, that is via text, and you can come and collect your hamper courtesy of Fit by Vatra. So Predator sounds correct to me. It is actually.
True, but it is. But then again, this
next time, don't go into Predator. Nobody's gonna know what you're talking about.
So basically, we're calling it the cult classic Predator.
It's Predator.
So do definitely try tomorrow. In case today you tried, but it just wasn't your day. You still have 4 more days of different games on Drink Different, brought to you by Vatra and also brought to you by Fit.
Right here on the Power Breakfast on Power 91.3. We are live via our Facebook page, that is Power FM Zambia, and via Dstv on channel 92 on Topstar. Now, this is the conversation that has been on everybody's lips. The Ministry of Health is currently engulfed in significant corruption and drug theft scandal that has severely undermined public trust and attracted international scrutiny. So investigations have uncovered the involvement of senior government officials in the theft of medicines donated by the United States itself. As a result of this misconduct, the U.S. has decided to cut $50 million in health assistance aid, fueling widespread calls for accountability and comprehensive reform. So in response, government did announce that at least 75 individuals have been arrested and 25 convicted and fined in connection with the theft of medicines and medical supplies in public health facilities, while ongoing forensic audits are still being investigated and to fully expose the extent of the corruption and restore integrity to the drug supply system.
Joining the Queens of Breakfast is myself, Patrick Chifombo, and Mr. Liyoka Liyoka, who's the Executive Director of Medicines Research and Access Platform. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Fortrace.
Well, we're glad that you could finally join us this morning.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine.
Let's go right into the gist of the conversation this morning. Your reaction to the U.S. decision to suspend 50 million United States dollars in health aid.
It's a sad affair, and it's a dark cloud on our nation, Zambia, that we have a suspension of aid. Colossal to that tune of 50 million US dollars, which translates to 140 billion kwacha. That is colossal, and that is of very significant magnitude, and it's something that disheartens everyone, to that extent, that we'll have a lot of drug shortages, and these are critical drugs that we're talking about, supported by the U.S. government for over a long period of time. This announcement is very sad, and I think that all Zambians, will be saddened about this announcement. I think that's our reaction to that.
Okay, let me take you a bit back as an organization, Medicines Research and Access Platform. Were you aware of this kind of grand theft happening in our country for a number of years? Is your research conclusive enough to agree with the U.S. government?
Well, we have not, as an organization, carried out a forensic, research, or rather audit, to inform, conclusively, or rather, have an opinion that there is a theft, that is occurring, and really put a finger on it, to the extent that this office and that office is dealing in these kind of things. But we know, Patrick, that from a long time ago, these issues have been there in the public sector, in the supply chain of medicines. And I think that both government and the people of Zambia, and of course the cooperating partners, do agree that, grafts in the, public supply of medicines has been an endemic problem, for Zambia. This we agree. And I think that we have also got evidence from other circles that has been produced and has been put on the table. There's no denial about the fact that there is existence of grafts in the supply chain of medicines, in the procurement of, these medicines. And I think government does accept that, merely to say that they've been arrested and convictions and fining is, another way of saying, yes, these things have existed and they're still there. And perhaps the question is that how do we begin to deal with them? Have we been serious enough in the past to make sure that these are nipped out and dealt with fully?
142 billion, as you put it. How do we go about that?
That is a tall order, Patrick. It's a difficult situation. That we have this kind of the cut into our budget. By the way, you must realize that. A third of the budget in the health sector is actually supported by donors. In fact, more than a third of the budget is supported by the cooperating partners. And we're talking about a lot of commodities, that are supported. And if you look at it from the U.S. government, and I think we should be saying thank you to the U.S. government, the antiretroviral medicines, and how HIV and AIDS has affected our country. These medicines have been available, to our populations across the country, and we have enjoyed this privilege. Anti-TB medicines. These are very important medicines that have been made available to our patients. The anti-malaria medicines and other support mechanisms, including the logistical system itself, to make sure that these medicines are being made available to our poor populations through the last mile distribution of medicines. This has been supported, and I think that we can only be thankful for that. And let me mention this, that in going forward, when we talk about this cut, the American government supports the health sector in Zambia to the tune of 128 million US dollars. This we should underline. They have now cut 50 million out of the 128 million. That should be understood in the clearest, context. And this cut is effective January 2026. In the meantime, that's, support is still eligible and is still being supplied to the people of Zambia. And so I think that we must be serious as a people. We must be serious as government and all stakeholders to look at this matter and see how we can begin to deal with it. The cut, I must say, is not immediate. It's an imminent cut, and that is coming in January. To tell you the truth, if let's be fair and square, this is a protest move by the American government. And I think they've stated their reasons why they're protesting about this matter. And because it's a protest move, I think that we must give the correct responses, the appropriate responses to this protest. And I think we've said it time and again to government to say, look, they must look at the appropriateness of their actions. I want to say that in a protest, if we get the equation right, and if we convince all stakeholders, including all the other donors, that there is appropriate action that is being taken, I see a reversal of this.
Now that we're seeing 50 million worth of aid being cut, and you did earlier on allude to that we do have anti-malaria drugs, TB drugs, HIV drugs, which were available to us. Now, how can you assess the impact of this aid suspension? This will have significant magnitude. I think the effect of this will have a huge, significant magnitude. Let me tell you this. Also, being a health practitioner from that angle, and one that has worked in the public sector also for some time, that we have a lot of people in Zambia that are dependent on a daily basis on antiretroviral therapy. These medicines are very critical to them. We have, people that are dependent on anti-TB medicines. And the correlation between HIV and AIDS is very, very intimate. And you see, you can't do without the other. Malaria is one of our biggest killers, in this country. It is a threat to child mortality and morbidity also. And also the general populace, excuse me. So, going forward, what it is that when this medicine is withdrawn, let's talk about HIV and AIDS. These medicines, when we talk about antiretroviral medicines, they reduce the viral load. They reduce the replication of the virus in our bodies, okay, when we have HIV, in our bodies, to levels where it becomes undetected, and so it ceases to cause problems. It stays dormant, and so the person is okay clinically, would be able to do whatever you want to do, become economically viable. And these are people, you and me, that are running the affairs of this nation, that are turning the wheels of the economic affairs of this country. And they need to be fine for them to be able to to do that work. And so when this medicine is withdrawn, even if it's just for a day or a week, what happens is that the viral load begins to rise. When it rises, it means that all the opportunistic infections, including TB, go up. They all spike up. The person gets sick. They can't work. That's morbidity. Eventually, of course, mortality. People begin to die on us unnecessarily, and these are deaths that can be, avoided, so to speak. And so you can see that the impact on the population is really going to be huge, both clinically and, of course, economically. It's going to affect this country to very high magnitudes. And I think that we can only imagine this, and we can only pray that we do things that avert all this. Malaria will spike up. Yeah. And we've been trying to bring down the cases of malaria in this country. All these gains, Fortrace, are going to be reversed. Let me just say one point that, when resistances happen in antiretroviral treatment, even in TB, you can no longer, even if you got the medicine again, if you had stopped, you can no longer get back on the regimens or that you were on before. If you were first line, which would be the most economical, now you have to go to second line and third line. These are more expensive medicines. And it means that now it becomes a tall order for the government, because these medicines become even more expensive. These are patented medicines. And they ordinarily would not even access these medicines. Yeah. Now, we did see in the news that the government is proposing that we start manufacturing our own medication. Previously, we did see a man who did come up with a Sondashi formula, and he did say it works, but then it still needs more trials till it can work out. So how far are we? Can we say that after this aid cut, it's going to affect of course, the inflow of medication, but we can go the direction of making our own ARVs or TB drugs or anti-malaria drugs? How far are we?
And we can mention the man, by the way.
Thank you very much. I'm not naive to the sondage formula. I think it's a matter that we've interacted with for a long time. Let me tell you this, that from a professional perspective, that it takes at least 15 years, at least 15 years minimum, from the time that you discover a molecule or you suspect that this could work, to the time that it can be manufactured into a drug that can be used by populations. It takes a minimum of about 10 years. And I can tell you that that is the process that it takes. And so when we talk about the sondage formula, yes, we have talked about the sondage formula for more than 15 years, I must say. But what we haven't seen is significant, investment into making sure that we analyze what the sondage formula does have. All we have had are suspicions that it contains what is called an integrase inhibitor. A molecule that inhibits the launching of the DNA strand into our normal DNA. It stops that, and so it does prevent infection of HIV, which, if it is, because we don't have the evidence yet, and I'm saying if it is, then it's a very good medicine. But let me tell you one thing also, that when you come to antiretroviral medicine, however good it is, we don't use one molecule alone. We use at least the three. Do you know the reason why? The three have different mechanisms. In other words, they attack from different sites of the virus. This is a virus that is very robust, and it's very capable of very quick mutations. If you use one medicine that targets a particular site, it quickly evolves into something that closes that site, and that medicine can no longer work. But if you attack it from different sites, from a layman's perspective, it gets confused. It can't protect itself. So using the sondage formula alone, as it has been used, doesn't help us. Because then what we're saying is that, for all we know, the sondage formula could as well have developed resistance. All these things are now things we need to talk about and really subjected to, scientific analysis, elucidation, so that we say, okay, there is value in this. However, when you talk about manufacturing our own medicines, this is a tall order. The specialties that are needed in the manufacture of medicines is very, very high. In terms of orders of magnitude of specialty, very, very high. And I think that we need to build that. We have not made any investment in that, so to speak, as government, as a people. And so you can't just wake up and say, no, let's start manufacturing our medicines. You must have a plan. You must create a roadmap towards that. Not when aid is cut, and that is when you want to jump on the podium and say, we want to manufacture. There must be a developmental plan to be able to do that. And this is what we're saying. Do we have people that can do that? Yes, we do. What we lack is simply the will and the gut feel to be able to do that.
And the funding.
And I don't believe that the funding is a problem. I think it's just the will. If we have the will, there's going to be a way, somebody said. But I think we have not been serious about this matter as Zambians and as Africa. I have gone to Parliament myself and presented on matters of manufacturing of medicine several times and how we must go about this. We have the formation of the, African Medicines, agency at the AU level, and I did make a presentation to Parliament, I think sometime last year, supporting that. Yes, this is the right move, so that we begin to see how we can optimize, the manufacture of medicine. But I'll tell you that this is a country that doesn't even have the drug policy. We don't have a drug policy, which stipulates plans of how we should go there. So we cannot talk about these issues in abstract. These are serious matters that we need to consent to.
This is Voice of the People, and on Power FM 91.3. We're also live on Dstv on Topstar. The Ministry of Health is currently engulfed in a significant corruption and drug theft scandal that has severely undermined public trust and attracted international scrutiny. Our guest this morning is Mr. Liyoka Liyoka, who is the Executive Director of
Medicines Research and Access Platform, MEDRA.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Just to digress a bit, if I may, in the revelations by the U.S. Embassy, there was a conversation about them having investigated quite a number of pharmacies across the country. Do you give credence to the evidence that was presented to say they visited, for instance, undercover, obviously, over 2,000 pharmacies across the country? The reason I ask this is because I was reading something else where someone alluded to the fact that, well, for starters, we don't have 2,000 pharmacies across the country.
I think that I want to believe that this research was done. I think for all purposes and intents, let's give this a greater benefit of doubt. Let's credit this research. There is no need. There is no benefit in saying no, it never occurred. We don't have these pharmacies. We do. These pharmacies, yes, Zamra will tell you that we may, I'm not sure, but I think they could actually, give or take, I think we have more than 2,000.
More than 2,000, okay.
We do have more than 2,000 registered pharmacies. Don't take my word for it, but Zamra will have authority over that. But I'll tell you that being conversant with the sector also, we also have a number of unregistered pharmacies. And if you read the content of that report, it includes both registered and unregistered pharmacies. And so there is credit. I want to believe there is credit in that report until proven otherwise. I want to believe that there is credit in that report. And I want to believe that for the American government to stand on that podium and challenge government, they must be stepping on something. You know, I'm not Bemba, but I do understand my Bemba very well. And I think that that's an old African proverb, and I think we need to go by that. So what we need to do is, let's carry out our own research. What about ours? To what extent does it prove? Okay, even at that moment, if we say it's not credible, why are we arresting people? Why are people getting convicted about drug thefts in the sector? So there is credibility, there is substance in the report, and I think we had better start dealing with the issues of the reports.
Now, talking about arresting the former ZAMSA directors, we arrested. Now, how will this influence confidence in the health sector that is by the public?
I'll tell you one thing. This is where we get it all wrong. And I think we've advised government that, look, let's stop focusing on individuals. Let's focus on the system. We have a system that abets, corrupt practices. It doesn't matter who you put there. They will end up in the same direction. And so for me, dealing with this problem doesn't even begin with arresting of individuals. Here is a basket that we have, and we're filling it with water, but it's got a big hole beneath. The water you end up draining. It doesn't matter how much you put in. And that's what the sector is all about. There is colossal sums of money that is going in there, but the water, the resource keeps leaking. And so we need to plug the hole first, deal with the system. Let's begin by looking at the system so that the system will sort out individuals. It will work out in the sense that individuals that don't deliver will simply be misfits in the system, and it will simply sieve them out. And so looking at it, and that is why other people are saying, look, these things you are citing are insignificant. Deal with the real issues, not the small ponds that are there that end up being caught in the net because they went the wrong way or they fell out of favor and things like that. Or let's dig out this. Let's investigate the system. How does it deliver? What is the supply chain system? How is the procurement done? And what are these that abet, this corruption? So we will arrest these individuals. But remember, we have others that are running the system now. We'll end up arresting them also because they will also be caught up in the same thing. So deal with the system. And this is consistently our message to government. I don't want us as a country to focus on little things. Let's look at the bigger picture and analyze it so that we deal with those. Yes, they were caught. If they were caught, let's allow the courts of law deal with them. And the long arm of the law find them and deal with them sternly. And I want to say here that currently we have sufficient laws in the country. The penal code is sufficient enough to deal with these individuals if they are found guilty by the courts of law.
Do you think that there's bigger cabals, cartels, persons involved in the theft of medicines?
I'll tell you one thing. You can't rule out that at global level in the big pharma industry, cartels are the order of the day. This happens in this country. And so we need to have a strong systems that abet, these cartels, that deal with these cartels whenever they show their ugly faces. And this is why public health medicines will end up in the private sector. I mean, not too long from now, you remember we had truckloads of medicines that ended up in private sector, in the private warehouses and stuff like that.
Over 60 containers.
60 containers. How did that happen? I mean, these are things. That's why we're saying, can we look at the system? And who has dealt with that? How has it been dealt with? If I ask you today, even as media, do you have any conclusion to that? These are issues that we must be talking about. And so it shouldn't even begin to happen in a situation where you have a proper system. That shouldn't begin to happen. So that the moment it happens, then there is a breach, and it's known exactly where the breach, has occurred. So these are issues that I think we should take very seriously as a people.
Let me take you back to what you said about the system. Mm-hmm. Now, how are we going to deal with systematic theft? And maybe before you answer that, what do you think is the cause or the factor for this systematic theft that we have been seeing of donated medicines?
I'll tell you one thing, that the drug budget consists of colossal sums of money, that are used for the purchase of procurement of medicines, for the public sector. And let me just take you down, memory lane that for a long time this procurement was held by the Ministry of Health. Headquarters, until 2019, when you had the ZAMSA, act being promulgated by Parliament, where we had the procurement unit being moved to ZAMSA. And I can tell you that as MedRap, we did a lot of work around that. We did a lot of advocacy, and we advised, and we made sure that was done. And we are happy that government then responded. But it was only in rhetoric to some extent, because the ministry continued to procure. Until this government, again, we give credence to this government. They did move the procurement to ZAMSA. Mm-hmm. But again, I don't know. There are still issues around there again. And I'll tell you one thing, that we as MedRap also, we contributed to the stopping of the bill, amendment bill to the ZAMSA bill. That was, not in good faith, we thought, sort of reversing that move. And we said, no, we went to Parliament and told Parliament, you can't do this because we'll be reversing everything we've done. And that was curtailed. So you see, to some extent, a system that is still unwilling, to let go, in terms of the procurement. And we are telling government, and we are telling the president, and in all this, the buck stops at the president. Mm-hmm. I think he needs to be very, very strong and categorical about the health sector in terms of how it's going to be run, so that we give a true, mandate to ZAMSA. I don't believe that ZAMSA procurement has been capacitated to levels where it should. And that is why people are punching holes into ZAMSA again. No, they can't. No, they don't have the specialty. So what? Give them the specialty they need to be able to run that function. Why are you making excuses of that so that you bring it back to where it should be? These are the issues, first of all, that we're talking about. There is unwillingness to let go, this procurement by certain quarters, of our society. And I think I say this unapologetically, that these monies belong to the people of Zambia. And so let us allow for that. For us as MedRap, and maybe later on, I can tell you, how do we think it should function, so that we bring in more credibility, more transparency, more accountability into the supply chain of medicines. We don't believe that the last mile distribution of medicines is still robust enough to supply and provide for the people of Zambia.
This is Voice of the People on Power Breakfast 91.3, also live on Beach TV. Joining us this morning is Medicine's Research and Access Platform, MedRap Executive Director, Mr. Liyoka Liyoka. Maybe to allow you to answer your own question, how should it function?
Thank you, Patrick. That's generous.
And I ask this maybe just to ride on your question.
Yes.
Why are people or the system holding on to the procurement of medicines? What's the big idea there, someone would say?
I think that the reason is obvious. I mean, it benefits some quarters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as we see, corruption benefits, and oil certain, unintended targets for these monies, and so this is not right. Whenever you want to plug those holes, we must expect resistance. Not everyone will take what we're talking about here with a kind heart, because we talk about issues that are truthful, that are affecting the people of Zambia. But look, these matters must be talked about. We are all Zambians. We are all part of government, and I think that when it fails, we all fail, and so it's a problem. But allow me to get back to the question that I did ask myself, and thank you, Patrick, for that. We don't believe, like I started earlier, that we don't believe that this last mile distribution of medicines is ideal for our country.
Just to enlighten us, if I may cut you short briefly, well, what is the last mile distribution?
The last mile distribution of medicines is a system where ZAMSA is mandated to procure, store, and distribute medicines from the central medical stores and the hubs to the last facility in the country in Kaputa, and over 3,000 public facilities. We don't think that works well, and I think that because of that lengthy chain, where responsibility for ZAMSA should cover that whole distribution chain, they do not have sufficient oversight provided, and a lot is happening to that system. It also is very expensive, to run on the part of ZAMSA. The third-party logistics, fourth-party logistics, whatever they call it, is a top-heavy and expensive system. It has cracks in it where a lot of things are falling and difficult to trace, and also it's a centralized mechanism. It's a centralized mechanism, Patrick, in a devolved, system. That this government has said that the primary healthcare system will now be under civic authorities, and that is what it is. How come then, if it's under civic authorities, how does it interface with a centralized system where medicines are coming from the other end? Through ZAMSA, through that last mile distribution, their hubs and things like that, and they just receive this medicine and they begin to dispense it and to the people. There's a lot that happens at that interface is not very good. And let me also tell you that in that system also, ZAMSA does not have a supervisory authority over the recipients of these medicines, be it the managers of the hospitals and the pharmacists that receive these medicines. They can't take precautionary or, measures upon ailing, people. They are under the Ministry of Health, and ZAMSA is an agency. Let's agree that there is division around there, and so that interface doesn't work very well. It's a crack in the system, like I said earlier, and I think we are seeing this is where things are happening, and also just the distension of this system, the distended oversight of ZAMSA. It makes it blared for them to provide, sufficient oversight to make sure that this process is seamless and there is accountability, and there's also security in the provision of these medicines until the last mile. That cannot be assured. There's a lot. The landscape, the geography of this country just doesn't allow for that. And I think for a long time, and that's why we have the same system being improved upon and being enhanced here and there. Patrick, it ends up, you massage a system that just doesn't work. What it calls for is scrap it down, move on to another system that is going to provide you a better oversight, so that the people at facility level are equally accountable for what they are receiving, and they can tell the people of Zambia, this is what we received, this is what we got, and this is how we use it. This is what we want to see, and these are some of the systems that we're advising government to devise.
According to you, what do you think is the best way? Do you think it is working, though, that ZAMSA is being used as a medium for medicine procurement? Or maybe there should be another way of how medicines should reach the people?
We have held these meetings, first of all, with the Ministry of Health. And I think we do agree with the ministry that this system is not working. What we have proposed is this. We have said that, first of all, in a devolved system like it is done now, let us allow for complete devolution, for complete decentralization, even of the drug budget. The drug budget must now be held not by the Ministry of Health. It must be held by the facilities themselves. That's number one. So let them have the actual money at facility level, at the district level, for that matter. That's number one. Number two, we have said, let us allow ZAMSA to fully commercialize. ZAMSA is under a commercialized, and also the commercialization now is partial. Let's allow them to fully commercialize. So that if they fully commercialize, then ZAMSA should be given a seed money. When they have this seed money, they will now come in as a public wholesaler player in the system. And I'll tell you what that does. It means that ZAMSA can now, over 95% of medicines, by the way, that we use, in fact, more than that, are actually all imported. And we all import from the same sources globally. And this is why we have problems in terms of pandemics. You know how COVID hit us? Because we're all just going to order from the same fellas. And they played games with us. That again, we know. We can talk about that another day. But what we're saying is that when ZAMSA is allowed to procure these medicines, they can now leverage economies of scale at regional level through regional establishments, where they can now come together with Malawi, Namibia, Zimbabwe, and others. So look, let's bring our money together. And let's provide a common, market for maybe an industry in Switzerland, where we can say, look, we need this volume. Yeah, and in volumes, and this is why we do what we call economies of scale. Then prices begin to do what? Go down. This medicines comes down. We'll land it here at a much lower, a price. What will happen is that when ZAMSA has these medicines, let's allow ZAMSA as a commercial player to sell both to the public and the private sector. And I know we can have a discussion over this. Let's allow them to sell to both the public and the private sector. ZAMSA will now carry out that role. What that does now is this. It lowers the equilibrium of medicines, pricing on the market, because now ZAMSA will have lower pricing because it's a public entity. It doesn't, declare profits. It's a surplus, and there's a huge difference in that. So because it's a surplus, they only have markup sufficient enough to make reorders and things like that and run their own systems. Because of that, then their pricing equilibrium comes down. Let me tell you one thing, that in the big pharma industry generally across the globe, including Zambia, profit margins sometimes can be huge. And so what we do is that because of this pricing equilibrium, even the other players in the market will do what? Will lower their pricing. What that does is that institutions like NIMA that reimburses for medicines, expenditure, will now reimburse at a lower cost. The unit cost for NIMA goes down because of that. Right now, the unit cost for NIMA reimbursement is based on the private sector, by the way. And we have gone to NIMA and said, look, we need to change this thing. It doesn't make sense. And the public sector is not reimbursed equitably by NIMA. And again, it's in public eyes, this matter. And so if that happens, what will happen is that if ZAMSA now can do that, then the pricing comes down. So that now these public health facilities that now have their money, what they'll do is that ZAMSA has hubs, regional hubs across the country. if it's in Livingstone, they'll drive to Choma, get their medicines, buy their medicines from Zamsa. You know what they'll do? They'll buy only what they need, because they understand the morbidity pattern and the needs of their facility. So they'll get this medicine and bring it to the facility in Livingstone and begin to dispense it. Now, it's under that mechanism now is under the hospital itself, hospital management. I can tell you that then the eyes are so close to the money. Then the SMS of the hospital, the senior medical superintendent, can provide proper oversight and accountability over the pharmacist who is running that process and the procurement system, so that they are now accountable. When they bring that medicine now, what they'll do is dispense it to members of the public who are NEMA, patients, members, and they get their investment through NEMA. So the public system will still be able to recoup their money, from NEMA. This money they can reinvest back into buying more medicines, from Zamsa. Zamsa gets the money also, and they can order more medicines. We make this whole thing very sustainable. And I'm using very elemental terms here so that we can all understand that this is how we can make the system sustainable and accountable, also to the people. If we did it like that, then I think that what we do now is that everybody now becomes accountable to the system. And it's easy to pinpoint, where issues are coming from. Then again, this colossal investment by government, year after year, will come down, because now Zamsa will say, oh, look, for the money that you gave us as seed fund, we're able to recoup back this money. We don't need as much. So, only a little is given to them, so that by and large, Zamsa becomes quite independent. So are the facilities also at the lowest levels. They also become independent. MOH's role is now to provide M&E, robust enough to make sure that they follow up institutions that are not providing. You have money. Why are you not buying medicines? Why is it that you don't have medicines in this institution? Then you can crack the whip on those institutions. This is what we are saying. But for MOH to do what they're doing now, it doesn't make sense, because now we don't know exactly how they interface with the local government in terms of this budgeting system, how the money ends up there, who is accountable, and at what level. This is why the system is difficult. This is why it's creating problems. We can sort out this whole thing. And somebody will argue to say, what about transport and things like that? I think answers are there. We do have transport.
Interesting indeed. This is Voice of the People on Power Breakfast 91.3 on Power FM. Also live on Dstv. Our guest this morning is the Medicines Research and Access Platform Executive Director, Mr. Liyoka Liyoka. Now, I want to take you back a bit, and we will be opening the phone lines momentarily. Please take note of the number 0955 997 997 or 0979 192 485. Meetings after meetings. You mentioned earlier that you've had a number of presentations made to Parliament. There's been meetings that the U.S. government has had with our government, and from what you are explaining, it's quite clear and concise. Why did these meetings end up with no proper action? That is the question on everybody's mind. How do we let things get so bad?
This is why I think everybody else has been on I think the response on our government in terms of appropriateness of our responses. I think we have not taken time to analyze our responses. Even from the time that the American ambassador went to the podium and said, look, we have had over 33 meetings. And this is what we've said, and we have not had the credible response, from government. What did government do? We saw, a trio of ministers go to the media and say, no, it was inappropriate for the ambassador to go to the media. But you have also gone to the same media to talk about the same thing. And so what we said is that de-escalate this matter. If that was wrong, then go to the embassy. And I'm happy to tell you this morning, if what I've seen on social media is right, that I think that government has heeded, and we need to give credit to that, where they have had a meeting already with the American ambassador. The same ministers have had a meeting with the American ambassador to explain and agree on the way forward, how this matter must be dealt with. We must agree that we have not, as government, dealt with this matter about those 33 meetings and what was required to be done correctly. I think we abetted a lot of things. We haven't put sufficient weighting to the matter. And that's why others are saying, look, this matter is very important. And that's why I said earlier that the withdrawal of aid is a protest move, so that we can see government respond maybe to the issues that have been raised. We must see with the meeting now, the 34th meeting, I presume, with the American ambassador by the 3 ministers again. And I think they must have agreed on something, moving forward. Now what we must see are things that we're talking about now, Fortrace. Let's have a change in the system. How the supply chain of medicines is being run into the yeah.
Do you need 33 meetings for someone to tell you that there's something off?
No, you don't need that. You don't need that. And that is why we are saying, look, let's be serious as a people. These are matters that are very important. It didn't have to take even the American ambassador to announce that for us to take action. No. We should be transparent enough ourselves. We know that arresting these small people in the system doesn't really solve the problem. Why can't we deal with the elephant in the room? Deal with the real issues that are on the ground. And we know these issues. Government knows these issues. And this is why we say, look, go and sit with them. What are the Americans referring to? They know something perhaps that we do not know. Let's learn from them. And if they are kind enough to give us this aid, they should also be kind enough to give us support into the forensic audit of, these medicines. Let's sit and see how this can be done. And I think we're all interested in this. No one is happy to see public health medicines in the private sector, somebody gaining profit over things that, do not belong to them, things that should be freely be distributed to the people of Zambia. This is wrong. And we must all be concerned. And by the way, let me mention that when they did this research, they found that 95% of the medicines that were being sold in those pharmacies were actually stolen medicines from the public sector. And only 45% were contributed by the American government. What about the rest of the other? Is it 50% out of the 95%? These are some of them are government medicines that are bought by this government from your taxpayer and my taxpayer. You and me should be concerned about the use of our medicines. That is why we've also said, we've seen other cooperating partners also raise their ears. No, we also want to know, because there are other partners also that support different mechanisms within the health sector. And this, if mishandled, I think it's going to spiral the wrong way. And this is why government ought to be serious enough now to make sure that this audit is done, and I think culprits are done. In fact, the Americans, for all purposes and intents, should share that report with the government of the Republic of Zambia, with the IG, police service, so that they can follow up these issues and arrests can be made, prosecutions can be done. And also we should see, like I said, the governance system, allow me again. If you look at the governance system again, ZAMSA is under a board of management. There is no substantive board of management for a long time at ZAMSA. Meaning that the operations of ZAMSA without board, then they overlie directly under the minister. That is wrong, because it allows for a lot of political interference. That is a wrong governance issue. No donor would be happy. No single person, in fact, would be happy to see that kind of oversight being provided directly by, a politician over an institution such as ZAMSA. That's number one. Number two, you don't have a management system. They are not substantive. They are all acting for a long period of time. Who wants to discuss strategic issues with a person that is not permanent? Tomorrow when you wake up, they're not there. That is difficult for strategic management and planning of the institution. And so investment is difficult for ZAMSA to plan. These are the issues. If the current guys that are there are doing a good job, why not just confirm them? Why not have a board of management? You cannot be saying the minister to say that no cabinet needs to sit. How many times has cabinet sat and this matter has not been tabled? These are the issues that we must deal with. We must not trivialize these issues. We must take them with the seriousness that they deserve, so that we can provide proper oversight and the credibility to the sector.
0955-997-997 or 0979-192-485.
All right. Now, how can we make sure that we prevent future misappropriation of medical supplies?
It's simply plugging the holes that is causing leakage, of these resources from the public sector system. This is the only way. The question, therefore, is that how do we do this? Let's look at the procurement system also. Let's fully capacitate ZAMSA to carry out full procurement of medicines. This is very important. Let's give them a seed fund. Let's change the system. Overall, again, what I didn't say earlier is that if you look at the supply chain mechanism for the public sector, it is a push system, by and large. That pushes commodities to destinations where some of these commodities may not actually be required. Or maybe even the quantities would be either overstocking or understocking in a push system. It is not robust to do things that way. It's not economical. And that is why later on again, you'd find facility A has more of what they need than facility B. Then you also have now to start all those, movements from one point to another. That's all expensive. It's unnecessary, to say the least. It's a very expensive life of a poor man when we do things like that. So what we need to do is that when we create the system I was explaining earlier, that is a pull system. The facilities only pull what they need. They stock the quantities they need and the types. We reduce on expiry also, and of the medicines themselves. We only order what we need, and so we bring in accountability, to the whole system, and also, like I said, transparency in a pull system. So this is what we need to see change. When we do that, there will be oversight again. There will be visibility. And these systems are already there in the ministry. The ministry will be able to see facility A has these stocks, does not have these stocks. Why? And they can take action upon those facilities and officers that may do that. And that's why I said, in the provision of the robust M&E, that should be the role of the ministry, to make sure that now commodities are available. And let me say this one thing also, that when facilities have their own drug money in their custody, and ZAMSA does not have the commodities they need, they should now be free enough to buy these commodities, even from the private sector. They should be able to buy these medicines. So that by and large, any lack of commodities at facility level can now be gotten rid of. We can now make sure that these commodities are available at all times, because then you can ask, okay, ZAMSA does not have, then why didn't you go to wholesale B and C in the private sector to make sure that you get these medicines? People can then be answerable. And we can now be able, at the end of the day, Patrick, you know what we're interested in? What we're interested in is to make sure that medicines are available in the facilities where people can access them. This is what the president has been talking about. And I think let's assist this president to make sure that this is done. We are the technocrats that understand this. And I think that there must be sufficient will to be able to help a government that has taken significant steps. And I must say this clearly, that the motive, I think, is very good from government perspective. What we see is now the translation of these motives into action, where I think is getting a little bit mixed up. And this is where us as technocrats come in to make sure that we underwrite some of these things, to make sure that they are in their right order of operation.
So you as a technocrat, when you make these submissions, presentations to Parliament, to government, why is your word not heeded to?
It is actually heeded to. Okay. I can tell you that. I have not had disagreements. We have not had disagreements with...
and we've had implementation of the
This is where the problem comes in. The implementation comes in very slow, or it never comes at all. And we have a lot of excuses along the way. No, it is this and that. No, it's an election. Yeah. No, what if it fails and all these things. Look, I mean, well, let's be pragmatic, to make sure that we do these things. And I can tell you ways of doing these things. What I have not been happy about is that, while systems agree we should move in that direction, what we should be seeing, Fortrace, is a situation where, let's say, let's do a model, okay? Let's do a pilot, so to speak. Let's pilot 3, 4, 5 institutions over a period of 1 year and 2 years, or 2 years. That where we can learn more lessons than what we're talking about here. And it should allow for scale up to other institutions. But if a system agrees and yet does nothing, I think that is a problem. Because we agree there's a problem and we are not doing anything to solve the problem. For me, I think that is hurtful because then we know, but deliberately we are not taking the actions to make sure that we correct that which is wrong. What are we afraid of?
Would we go ahead? Yeah.
I think you can go ahead.
I was about to ask, would you be interested in knowing what the forensic audit being done by government would come up with?
Oh yes.
Would you think it will vary from the U.S. government's audit?
I don't think so. I really don't think so because, in fact, to deny that the audit is faulty or is not correct is really to apply double standards. From any sector, because then, like I asked earlier, why are you making the arrests? Why have you admitted the fact that people have been arrested, whether or not it's right, because of this graft in the system? We have seen these things again, not with this government, with other governments also in the past. Graft has been there. We saw years back when the Swedish government again withdrew aid from the sector, claiming their money was misused. In the Mwanawasa government. And it's the Mwanawasa government that was credited by the people of Zambia for, not tolerating corruption. It is this government that is talking about, zero tolerance against corruption. I'll tell you that what we are seeing today may not be something that is new to this government. But what we see is a situation where I think the people of Zambia, the donor community, have a lot of expectation from this president, from this government. And so they've raised their expectations to say, now these issues must be dealt with. And so it is not in any case to demonize, anyone, but I think it's to really speak out to say, look, this is what we expected. And I think you can deal with this. You have abilities and capabilities to make sure that this is done. And I think all this should not be looked at as criticism. No, it must be looked at as support to this government, by and large. Because then the people are saying, you can do this. And they must show now the power and the will to be able to demonstrate the expectations of the people to make sure that this graft, once and for all, it is dealt with. I believe that this government can deal with this problem.
Mr. Liyoka, as we wind down, you alluded earlier that the private sector also purchases drugs. Well, what is the contribution of the private sector in terms of procurement of medicines?
I'll tell you.
Maybe in percentage terms. I just want to understand that.
I'll tell you one thing. Again, in terms of the responsibility, for lack of a better term, of the private sector versus public sector, private sector versus public sector, if I said it correctly, is that by and large, the public sector provides health sectors to the tune of over 80% of the population of Zambia. 20% is provided for by the private sector, and the other sectors. Okay? So you can see that provision of healthcare is skewed towards the public sector by and large. And only 20% to that extent by the private sector. That, again, is a problem. And that is why any turbulence, any disturbance in the public sector supply chain of medicines sends very high waves that affects the people of Zambia. This is the dynamic that we need to change. We need to strengthen the private sector provision of medicines, healthcare. And in the mechanism I was telling you earlier, I mentioned NEMA. NEMA is a game changer, and we must be happy, Fortrace, that we have health insurance in this country. Many of our African colleagues do not even have this facility.
Yet we complain that it doesn't work.
It doesn't work, and it's true, it doesn't work. Because we got off from the wrong footing with NEMA. I think we need to correct the provision for NEMA. NEMA is designed to fail. That is where the problem is. You cannot, Patrick, in your home, when you know I earn 2,000 kwacha a month, and you plan to be having dinner, all your dinners at Manda Hill, or and you're not cooking at your home, halfway through the month you are broke. You must be able to buy a bag of meal and cook your shima at home. NEMA is designed as such. How come NEMA is designed to pay more to a high cost center, which is the private sector? They pay highly, lucratively to the private sector. They have been doing that until they ran broke. They were walking on that line with their eyes open, and they landed with their noses on the ground. And that we must control. And that's why we're saying that NEMA now must reimburse equitably at the same rate for the public and the private, so that both sectors can grow at the same level. So that for you, Patrick, when you want to seek medical health services, you are going to say, oh, look, I'm not going to go to UTH. I'm going to private sector A clinic. Why? Is because I'm attended to there quicker. You have your own reasons. So you go there. But when it comes to reimbursement for NEMA, you're not causing NEMA to pay more because you chose the private sector. NEMA should pay the same amount they would have paid for you if you went to UTH. So that at the end of the day, as citizens now, we have choice of where to go, be it private or public. What should cost more in the private sector are issues of, hoteling, if you allow me to say so, because I'm going to stay in a private room. So if I choose that, I must pay for that myself, not NEMA. You understand what I'm saying? Hoteling should be, so that should be the difference between the public and the private sector in terms of NEMA provision. That way also, it means that the leakage of resources from NEMA will be equal. Now, if that happens, then you as a private, investor, entrepreneur, you're going to say, in Kaputa, there is no private sector institution. I'm going to mount one there. And you are sure that the people of Kaputa will give you business because they are members of NEMA. Your investment will come from NEMA. You are going to allow for private sector investment in all areas of the country, be it urban or rural. That's the advantage that system brings in terms of devolution of the drug budget, and also strengthening NEMA and ZAMSA will bring into the sector. You are now going to strengthen all systems of healthcare provision in the country, in the urban and in the rural areas. That's a benefit that it brings to the people of Zambia.
As a final question, because we're out of time, did the thinking that the private sector should be paid more by NEMA, was that a grand theft scheme to say no, we shall channel money towards a certain?
All I can see now, all I know now is that NEMA leaked resources through the private sector.
And it was deliberate. From what you're saying, it was deliberate.
Why that was designed, it fails to meet the test of logic. And it is allowed to run until, you are completely on your knees. Where were you? Where was the strategic planning? And I know that there've been studies that have been done under NEMA to make sure that is, but no action was taken to make sure that was corrected. That baffles. By the way, can I tell you also that when this government came into power, NEMA was under the Ministry of Labor. We went back to the government. We wrote to the minister. We wrote to the president. We went and presented before Parliament. Said, no. I think let's do things differently. Let NEMA come under Ministry of Health. We know that NEMA uses social security mechanisms to provide, but by and large, it is a health institution. In terms of policy oversight, you're going to starve it under Ministry of Labor, but it will get, appropriate policy oversight if it's brought under the Ministry of Health. And we're happy that was done. But now, let's bring in the correct mechanisms under NEMA. And for the record, we have now said, can we review the Act for NEMA? It's been there for over 5 years. Maybe we can correct some of these things at this stage.
This has been Voice of the People. We're looking at the current engulfment happening at the Ministry of Health, where there's allegations of grand corruption, drug theft scandals that have basically undermined public trust and attracted international scrutiny. Our guest this morning on Voice of the People was Medicine's Research and Access Platform, MedRap Executive Director, Mr. Liyoka Liyoka. been indeed a pleasure having you in the studio this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you indeed.
Voice of the People, Monday to Friday from 8:45 to 8:30 a.m. Great morning conversations start here.